know him, you love him, and now we have him at VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. It helps to be connected, and nobody knows more of the bookies in Las Vegas than Brent Musburger. It's My Guys in the Desert with the legend of the guys behind the counter, broadcasting only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network at VSiN.com and SiriusXM Channel 204. Live from the VSiN studios, it's the one and only Brent Musburger.
Well, there's nothing bigger in the National Football League than the divisional weekend, down to the Elite Eight, if you will. 2 games tomorrow, Indianapolis at Kansas City, Dallas playing the Rams in Los Angeles, and then on Sunday it'll be the Chargers in New England and the Philadelphia Eagles down in New Orleans. And Vinny and Amal, it's time to bring in our NFL expert, VSiN's own Michael Lombardi from the East Coast. Michael, welcome back, my friend. You've got to be excited about the 4 games we've got in front of us this weekend.
Oh, this is the best weekend in sports. This is awesome. You get 4 really good games, good teams playing, weather factor, good quarterbacking, good coaching. So I think it'll be just a great weekend as we look forward. All
right, let's start with the first game in Kansas City. And Vinny, Michael mentioned weather, and here we're expecting a lot of snow. We have a dome team, Indianapolis. That line has come off 5.5, has it?
Yeah, it has, Brent. It's now sitting at 5 here at the South Point. Started to see some under money as well. 56.5. It was 57, 57.5 when we came on, and obviously the weather a factor. But Chiefs 4.5 on the opener, got as high as 5.5, but now sitting at 5.
You know, I look at this particular matchup, Michael, to me, the loss of Kareem Hunt has had a huge impact on the Chiefs big picture-wise. Nobody's really been able to get true pressure on Indianapolis in terms of the offensive line, the job that they've done. I think the Colts can win this game outright. Do you think they have a chance to go into Arrowhead, one of the toughest places in the country to play and win?
You know, I really do, Amal. I think that they certainly have the elements to do it. We know this. The Chiefs defensively don't tackle well. Their corner situation on early downs, especially if you can handle the outside rushers forward and Houston and block the inside guy, Chris Jones, you're going to move the football on them. And this is what Indianapolis does. Now, I think they need to play a Canadian game. I think they need to get first downs and 2 downs. But if they control this football 35 minutes, they'll put a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes to score. The Chiefs do it quickly, and they always control the ball about 27 minutes. But I think this is a game that weather will favor the Colts because it'll help their ground game. The Chiefs don't tackle. And I also think that Andrew Luck, he's only played 4 games in sub-4-degree weather in his career. I think he can still throw the ball effectively in this type of weather.
All right, let's go to the second game, Vinny. The Dallas Cowboys catching 7 all week. It's been a 7-point. The Los Angeles Rams giving that number.
Brent, you hit on the head. This game opened 7. It has sat at 7 the entire time, as has the total, 49.5. No movement on the side or total.
You know, Brent, I'm not strong on a particular side here. I think the Cowboys have a great chance to cover this number, but I love this under 49.5. Dallas has a great defense. And, Michael, to me, I think the Rams have to get back to running the football. We know Dallas is going to want to run it first. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I think Jared Goff is an effective player and a good player when Todd Gurley's great. Without his success, I think Jared Goff regresses to the median of the NFL.
Well, I think you're right, Amal. I think Jared Goff is a quarterback that when he's got time to check the runners at first and third, he's a great pitcher. But when he gets hurried and he's got to get that ball to the plate, watch out. He doesn't handle pressure well. Look, the last month of the season, he's 3-2. The last month of the season, he's thrown 6 touchdowns and 6 innings. The last month of the season, 4 of those touchdown passes have been against the San Francisco 49ers. When the Lions put pressure on him, he struggled. When other teams put pressure on him, he really struggles, and that's going to be the challenge for the Cowboys. They've got to pressure Goff and make him have to get rid of the ball quickly and make him feel that he's got to play with a sense of purpose and really up-tempo, and I think that'll favor the Cowboys. Look, the other thing that'll favor the Cowboys is Elliott's got to run the ball effectively, and they've got to control the ball, and that'll take Gurley out because McVay will get paranoid and panic, and he'll start throwing it more than run it.
All right, now we turn our attention to the Road Warriors, and have they ever been impressive on the road? Talking about the Los Angeles Chargers, they'll tee it up on Sunday morning. Starting back on December 2nd, they went into Pittsburgh. They won 33-30. Then 2 weeks later, they went into Kansas City, and they won 29-28. Then they closed out the regular season in Denver, 23-9. Then they went in as an underdog last week in Baltimore, 23-17. Now, these Road Warriors take out after the B-boys, Belichick and Brady, Vinny.
And Brent, getting the betting attention so far. Here, the Patriots open 4.5 and now sit as 4-point favorites. This total being bet, first was bet down from 48 to 46, and now back up to 47.5, Amal.
You know, Vinny, during this Patriots historic run over the better part of 2 decades, I've hardly bet on the Patriots, but I haven't bet against them much. Brent, this is a team that's 8-0 at home this year. I don't believe there's a reason to start going against them now here. Michael, I think this number at 4 is right where it should be. I think it's tough either side, whichever one you look at in terms of covering the spread.
I like the Patriots here, and look, I know I'm a homer for the Patriots, but I've been critical of the Patriots. But here's why I like the Patriots. When you really study Phillip Rivers' last 6 games, he has not played well. He averages 6.88 yards per attempt. He's only made 4 plays over 25 yards during that 6-game stretch. They haven't been throwing the football. Watch them against Baltimore last week. It wasn't because they threw it well. It was because Baltimore couldn't get out of their own way at times. And I think when you really study this and you go back to history, Josh McDaniels against this Seattle defense, whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's playing Carroll, Bradley is a derivative of this. Jacksonville last year. They know how to attack this secondary. Ingram's dynamic. Nobody questions that. Bosa, tremendous. They can put pressure. But this is where Brady's so effective, getting rid of the ball. I like the Patriots here. I don't think Rivers is playing at the same level he did earlier in the year, and I worry about that right side of the line because bad lines on the road, and I know they're undefeated on the road except for the snub in Los Angeles. I think that Michael Schoenfeld will struggle against Trey Flowers. I bet Belichick puts Trey Flowers right over Schoenfeld, and I think the right tackle, Sam Tevy, will struggle with power, and I think it's going to cause some problems for the Chargers.
All right, now we go to the Philadelphia Eagles and St. Nick Foles. Way back in November, coming off of their bye, they hosted Dallas. They were a 7.5-point favorite, and they lost outright, 27-20. They then went down licking their wounds in New Orleans, and they were buried, 48-7. They went back to Philadelphia, and they regrouped a little bit, but they didn't cover. They beat the Giants 25-22. Then they were a touchdown favorite over Washington in Philadelphia, and they went 28-13 and lost again to the Cowboys before turning it up a notch. They caught 2 touchdowns in Los Angeles, beat the Rams outright, 30-23. And again, Nick Foles was at controls. They slipped past Houston on the road, or I should say in Philly, 32-30. Went on the road, won at Washington, won at Chicago, and now, Vinny, they go down to play the New Orleans Saints.
And the Saints, Brent, opened as 9-point favorites. Very quickly, Eagle money showed, and it has remained at 8 for the better part of the week. And the total first trended under from 51 to 50, and now back up to 51.5. So over money showing right now.
Michael, before I give my selection here, I want to tell you, I listen to you very closely. I think you're the most knowledgeable person we have from an NFL perspective. And you're right, it's so hard to beat a team twice in a season. But I just feel like the Saints will be ready for these guys the second time around, despite the fact that the Eagles have a great revenge opportunity here. I actually think they cover the 8 at home because they've been home for the last 2 weeks of the regular season, the bye week, and I think they know what they have in front of them.
Well, I like the Saints here. I would take the Eagles in the points, but I think the Saints do win this game for a couple reasons. I think what's really been lost a little bit, and Brent talked about Nick Foles, and he's been great. But last 2 weeks, Nick Foles really hasn't been to the same level. I mean, turning the ball over twice on the road to Chicago usually would be a recipe for losing. And had Parquet not missed that field goal, they wouldn't be here. So I'm not sure it's been Foles. It's really been their defense that has been effective. LeBlanc as the corner inside the slot has helped. They benched Sidney Jones. That really has helped them. But I know Sean Payton well enough to know he will be able to craft a way to find points here. I think it'll be a lower scoring game than most people suspect. I don't think the Saints can cover, but I think the Eagles will play them tough, but I think the Saints will wear them down. Remember, Ted Ginn's back. Ted Ginn gives Sean Payton I know it sounds crazy that I'm talking about Ted Ginn as a balancing shifting the balance of power here, but he gives him an outside effect down the field. It helps Michael Thomas out. And I think that the Saints are really on a mission. I really like the Saints. I think they'll win the game. I'm not sure they'll cover, but I think they'll win the game.
Michael, before we let you go, coaching news around the league. For example, the New York Jets are in talks with Greg Williams to become Coach Gaves's defensive coordinator. We've always respected Williams' ability to coordinate a defense. That would be a great hire for the Jets, in your opinion, or not?
Well, you've got to go back to New Orleans. When Greg Williams was in New Orleans, Joe Vitt was his linebacker coach. You know who Joe Vitt is? He's Adam Gase's father-in-law. And he was retired. He left the Saints. He coached. He was as a consultant down in Miami because in Stephen Ross's organization, you can't have relations working in the same building. So, therefore, he was just a consultant. But now he'll probably come back to the sideline, and he'll give Greg Williams a chance to run a defense. They're going to get they need to get better players in their defensive front to help Greg Williams' blitz package out. Their corners, Tremaine Johnson played horrible last year. So I do like it on the surface. I think there's a lot of pieces that fall together for it to work.
The Cardinals made not only the most surprising, but in some quarters the most controversial hire in Kingsbury, who had been let go by Texas Tech. But they have now reached back, and they have hired Vance Joseph, ousted as a Denver head coach, as the defensive coordinator. Joseph in with the Cardinals. Your feeling about what the Cardinals are doing with their coaching staff?
Well, I think the Cardinals lack talent. I think Steve Keim's been fortunate as the general manager to keep his job. When you look at this offensive line and their drafts over the last couple of years, and they've gotten rid of some coaches, and now they're on to their second. Kingsbury's going to have to find a way to implement a tight end into the office. He hired Steve Sarkisian as offensive coordinator. You can't open edges up all the time because what happens is Josh Rosen won't last the season. He'll get hurt. So I think they're going to have to do that. And then when you look at Vance Joseph, when he got hired, Brent, as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, the Miami Dolphins defense ranked 27th in the league that year. They were not spectacular, but they have two blue-chip players on defense in Patrick Peterson and Chandler Jones. That's a really good start for any defensive coordinator. I think it's an interesting hire. I think they put a lot into Josh Rosen. They better damn hope Josh Rosen's really good because if he's not good, then Cliff's not going to be there very long, and neither will Vance Joseph.
All right, let's turn our attention to Baltimore, where they have changed offensive coordinators today. Marty Mornhinweg will probably go upstairs in the organization, but Greg Roman, who has worked closely with the offensive line there in Baltimore, is the new offensive coordinator because apparently he's the one who put together Lamar Jackson's running attack down the stretch. Your feeling about the change of offensive coordinators in Baltimore?
I like it. I think this is, Marty Mornhinweg wasn't meant for Lamar Jackson. Marty Mornhinweg is a disciple of Mike Holmgren. He wants to be a West Coast offense, rhythm throw, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get it out, 1, 2, 3, throw it. That's not Lamar Jackson. And what Roman did in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick, all the play action, all the movement stuff, it was very effective. He was up for the Penn State job at one time because of his ability to create a single wing type offense with a passing game. I like Greg Roman. He's from Ventnor, New Jersey, right down the street from Atlantic City. I think he'll do a really good job.
All right, the Miami Dolphins apparently have to wait to hire their head coach. All indications are it will be New England's linebacker coach, Brian Flores, untested, coming in as the head coach of the Dolphins. He had been a linebacker at Boston College, and he's worked for the Patriots since 2004. He was in the personnel department. He was a scouting assistant. Then he became an assistant coach in 2008, a variety of roles. Is he ready for the big job?
I love Brian Flores. I think he's one of the best coaches Belichick has. He's really started the right way. He's not like some of these other guys that are getting jobs. He learned about players first, working in personnel. Then he went into coaching and learned about plays. And now he knows players and plays. And he's worked his way up. And the one thing about the Patriot system is you only get promoted when you do a job really well at the job you have. And Brian has always done that. I think Brian's a very talented coach. I think it'll take him some time. He's not Bill Belichick all over again. He's going to take Bill's ideas, his philosophy, his fundamentals, his techniques. He's going to put them in his own spin. Going to be a great coach.
Cincinnati seldom goes away from the family to hire a head coach, but apparently the Rams quarterback coach, Zach Taylor, and if I'm not mistaken, he was at Cincinnati University for a while. Zach Taylor, they're zeroing in on him. Your feeling about Taylor and the Bengals?
This is an interesting hire, Brent. I mean, this is a young man that 2 years ago in 2016 was calling plays for the Cincinnati Bearcats. And that offense ranked 99th overall in the NC2A. He had 3 games he couldn't score a touchdown in. He got the left there. He went and became an assistant. Then he was the quarterback coach for Sean McVay. Look, I think Sean McVay's neighbor has a really good chance to get a head coaching job. If he puts together a few staff members, it's a chance. The mailman's really pissed off. He's off in this as well. So, his Dak Taylor hire just blows me away. His son-in-law, he's the son-in-law of Mike Sherman. I hope he hires Mike Sherman to help him. This is one of the most interesting hires I've ever seen with really no experience. He's 35 years old and no experience of having great success.
Now, there are several guys who come without extensive experience as a coordinator. So my question is, would you ever hire a head coach in the NFL who had not been a coordinator? I want to eliminate college coaches, okay? I want to throw them out. I want to say that you're looking only at assistants in the NFL. Michael, would you yourself hire a head coach who did not have extensive experience as a coordinator, either offensive or defensive?
I wouldn't, because you got to lead a group of men, and being a head coach is you got to lead everybody. You got to walk in there with a presence, and when you just have a group, if you can handle a group, you got to handle a bigger group, and I think that's really the key. There's a chain of command that I think you have to stick to, or a chain of being able to succeed, and I think it starts with you got to be a coordinator, and I got to see the results of the coordinator. Now, I'm not saying you've got to be a dynamic coordinator, but I think you've got to be very good at attacking people. I mean, look, Matt LaFleur, he gained 105 yards against the Baltimore Ravens defense this year at Tennessee. They didn't even convert a third down. Don Martindale, the defense coordinator for Ravens, couldn't get a sniff as a head coach, and Matt LaFleur is a head coach. Some things just doesn't make sense to me.
All right, tomorrow morning with Von Tobel from Atlantic City. What time do you take air here on VSiN, Michael?
We will be up at 10 a.m. in the morning talking about all these games. We'll talk a little NBA. We'll do a little bit of everything, Brent. We'll cover everything, and we'll hopefully get people ready for a great weekend of football. All
right. Michael Lombardi, you can hear him Saturday and Sundays. He's one of our fine VSiN hosts. Back live, we want to check in on the contest. Randy McKay, he is in New Jersey, getting ready to set sail after the $1 million. Coming up, VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.